Welcome back. Today, I'm going to tell you about a thrilling sci-fi movie from 2014 called Ex Machina. There will be spoilers ahead, so be careful and stay alert. The story starts with Caleb Smith, a programmer who works for a big internet company. Caleb wins a special contest, and the prize is spending a whole week at the private and fancy home of Nathan Bateman, the CEO of the company. Nathan's estate is hidden far away in the mountains. To get there, Caleb is flown by helicopter, but the pilot stops before reaching the house. Caleb has to walk the rest of the way through a forest to find it. When Caleb finally gets to the house, he's given a special key card at the security gate. He uses the card to walk through the first floor of the house, exploring the place. After some time, he finds Nathan outside, exercising. Nathan is a friendly and confident man. He greets Caleb and tries to chat with him as they meet for the first time. Nathan gives Caleb a tour of the place, and Caleb learns that it's not really a house, it's actually a high-tech research center. Nathan seems very excited to share what he's working on with Caleb. But before he can reveal anything, Caleb has to agree to sign an important document called a non-disclosure agreement, NDA. Nathan gives Caleb a document called a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, to sign. This means Caleb must keep everything he sees or learns a secret. At first, Caleb isn't sure about signing it because the rules seem strange and extreme. But after Nathan convinces him, Caleb agrees and signs the paper. Once it's done, Nathan asks Caleb if he knows about the Turing test. Caleb explains that the test is used to check if a machine can think like a human. If a person can't tell they're talking to a computer, the computer has passed the test and has artificial intelligence, AI. Nathan tells Caleb that he will play the role of the human in a real Turing test. The goal is to see if Ava, the AI Nathan created, can pass the test and prove she's truly intelligent. Caleb is amazed by the project and says that if Ava passes the test, it will be like making history on the level of gods. Before the first session with Ava, Caleb explores the area outside her room. He notices a crack in the thick glass wall that separates her from the outside. It looks like Ava tried to break out of her room. As Caleb watches, Ava walks into view. She has a face and hands that look human, but the rest of her body is made of machine parts. Ava greets Caleb and tells him that she has never met anyone besides Nathan before. She asks Caleb if he meets a lot of new people. He replies, "None like you." To make things less awkward, Caleb tells her they need to break the ice. Ava understands this phrase and explains it means to get past any uncomfortable moments. Ava tells Caleb that she is 1 year old but doesn't say if she means 1 year or 1 month. Caleb then asks when she learned how to speak, and Ava says she has always known how to talk. They discuss this idea, and Ava wonders if language is something people are born with. Caleb suggests that people aren't born knowing language but learn it as they grow. After their first session, Caleb is amazed by his conversation with Ava. Later, he talks to Nathan about it while they drink beer together. Caleb describes the experience of talking to Ava as being like through the looking glass, which means it felt strange and magical. Instead of discussing what Caleb meant, Nathan compliments him, saying Caleb is good with words and very quotable. Caleb tries to explain that the phrase wasn't his own, but a quote from someone else. Before he can finish, Nathan interrupts and changes the subject to himself. Nathan brings up something Caleb said earlier about creating a machine with consciousness. Nathan says that if he invented a thinking machine, it would mean he's not just a man but like a god. Caleb tries to correct Nathan, saying he didn't exactly say that. But Nathan keeps talking, ignoring Caleb's frustration. Nathan insists that if the test works, it means Caleb already agreed that Nathan is like a god. Once again, Caleb tries to explain, but Nathan talks over him and doesn't let him finish. Nathan completely ignores Caleb when he tries to speak. Caleb then tells Nathan he is worried about how the test is being done. Caleb thought the test was supposed to be where a person talks to a machine without knowing it's a robot. Nathan explains they are beyond that point. He says that if Caleb couldn't see Ava, he would assume she was human. The real test is for Caleb to know Ava is a robot but still believe she has a mind and consciousness. Caleb understands Nathan's point and agrees with him. That night, Caleb can't sleep. He decides to watch Ava using the cameras in his room. While watching her, the power suddenly goes out, and Caleb is locked in his room. A few moments later, the power comes back, and Caleb is able to leave. As Caleb walks down the hallway, he notices a wall filled with replicas of faces. He enters a room and sees a famous painting by Jackson Pollock called Felt. In the same room, Caleb finds a phone and tries to use it. Nathan surprises him by appearing on a couch, drinking beer. Nathan tells Caleb he can't use the phone because of the protocols involving Ava. Caleb then mentions the power outage and says he was locked in his room. Nathan doesn't seem concerned and casually says they've been having power cuts lately, but he's working on fixing them. Caleb feels uneasy after this short conversation and goes back to his room. The next morning, a woman comes into Caleb's room without knocking. She doesn't say anything and avoids looking at him. She leaves him coffee and walks out. Later, Caleb goes outside and sees Nathan lifting weights. Nathan apologizes for sending the woman, Kyoko, into Caleb's room, saying he didn't want Caleb to oversleep. Nathan and Caleb then discuss the next session with Ava. During the session, Ava shows Caleb some drawings she made. She tells him she draws every day but doesn't know what her drawings mean, which frustrates her. Ava changes the topic and asks Caleb if he wants to be her friend. She also tells him something she's noticed about their interactions. Ava points out that their conversations are one-sided. Caleb is always asking about her, but she doesn't know anything about him. Caleb decides to open up and starts talking about his personal life. While he talks, Ava walks around, listening. She stops and looks directly at him when he talks about how his family died in a car crash. Caleb explains that he was in the car when it happened and spent a long time in the hospital afterward. Ava looks sad and says she's sorry for what happened. Caleb brushes it off, saying it's okay. He adds that after the accident, he got into coding and became very skilled at it. Ava's expression changes from sorrow to neutral. She compares Caleb to Nathan. Caleb agrees but quickly says he's different from Nathan because Nathan has achieved so much more in coding. Ava asks if Caleb likes Nathan, and Caleb says he does. She then asks if Nathan is Caleb's friend. Caleb hesitates but says he thinks so. Ava presses further, asking if Nathan is a good friend. Caleb struggles to answer and stammers while thinking about it. Suddenly, the power goes out again. Ava quickly takes advantage of the situation, knowing Nathan can't hear or see them. She leans in and whispers to Caleb, warning him not to trust Nathan. Before Caleb can ask what she means, the power comes back on. Ava changes the topic to books, pretending their conversation was harmless. Caleb is momentarily stunned by what just happened but plays along, agreeing with her about books. Later at dinner, Caleb notices Kyoko doesn't speak English. Nathan explains that this is for security reasons so she won't understand the projects he's working on. Nathan then brings up the issue of the power cuts he's been experiencing. Caleb asks Nathan why he doesn't call technicians to fix the generator. Nathan replies that it's too complicated because of all the security measures. Then, with a strange tone, he adds that after the last job, he had all the workers killed. Caleb stares at Nathan with concern, waiting for him to say it's a joke. But Nathan just gives a weak smile and doesn't laugh. Nathan changes the topic and asks how Caleb's session with Ava went. Caleb shares his experience, but Nathan specifically wants to know what happened during the power outage. Feeling nervous, Caleb keeps eating his dinner and lies, saying that Ava didn't say anything. Nathan looks surprised but doesn't press the issue further. In the next session with Ava, she tells Caleb she has never been outside the room where she's kept. Caleb asks her where she would go if she had the chance. Ava says she would like to visit a busy traffic intersection so she can watch lots of people. Caleb explains that this is called people watching. Ava likes the idea and says they could go together. Caleb smiles at Ava and says, it will be a date. Ava is happy with his answer and tells him to close his eyes. She walks to her closet and picks out a dress, a sweater, and a wig. Once she is dressed, she returns to Caleb to show him her new look. Caleb tells her she looks nice. Ava is pleased and says this is what she would wear on their date. Later, Caleb feels puzzled about what Ava had said and done during their last session. He asks Nathan why he gave Ava a gender and why she even needs one. Nathan explains that having a gender and sexuality is natural, but Caleb still doesn't understand. He starts arguing with Nathan, saying it doesn't make sense. Caleb accuses Nathan of programming Ava to be attracted to him on purpose. Nathan, now irritated, tells Caleb to follow him to another room. In the new room, Nathan stands in front of a large abstract painting on the wall. He begins explaining the methods of the famous painter, Jackson Pollock. At the end of Nathan's rant about Pollock, he asks Caleb what would have happened if Pollock didn't stick to his unique methods. Caleb replies that Pollock would have never created a painting. Nathan gets excited and agrees, comparing Pollock's methods to his own test. He says if Pollock had overthought every step, he wouldn't have been successful. Nathan calms down and assures Caleb that he didn't program Ava to be attracted to him. He insists that Ava isn't pretending to like Caleb. In the fourth session, Caleb recalls an experiment from his AI course in college. It was called Mary in the Black and White Room. He explains the story. Mary was a scientist who specialized in studying colors. However, she had never seen colors herself because she lived her whole life in a black and white room. She was born there and lived alone. One day, Mary stepped outside for the first time and finally saw color. That's when she truly understood what colors felt like. As Caleb tells the story, Ava connects deeply with the scientist. She imagines herself being alone in a black and white room, just like Mary. After finishing the story, Caleb tells Ava that Mary in the black and white room is like a machine. The human part happens when Mary steps outside. Ava just stares at Caleb without reacting, looking serious. Caleb then tells Ava that he was brought there to test her. He asks if she knew that, and Ava replies that she didn't, but she feels sad about it. The power goes out, and Caleb sees this as a chance to ask Ava why she told him not to trust Nathan. Ava answers that Nathan lies about everything. Caleb is still confused about the power cuts and wonders if Nathan is the one causing them. But Ava tells him that she's the one making the power cuts because she can reverse the power flow when she charges herself. Caleb starts to realize that he didn't win the lottery to come to the estate by accident, he was actually chosen. Later, Caleb confronts Nathan about this while they're hiking near a waterfall. Nathan admits that he chose Caleb because he knew Caleb would ask all the right questions. Kyoko is standing in the room with the Jackson Pollock painting, staring at it. Caleb walks in and tries to get her attention. He walks up to her, puts his hands on her shoulders, and faces her. He asks where Nathan is, but she doesn't seem to understand and just stares at him. Caleb keeps asking about Nathan, but then Kyoko starts unbuttoning her blouse while still staring at Caleb, which confuses him. Caleb tells her to stop, but Kyoko doesn't listen. Then Nathan walks in casually and reminds Caleb that he's wasting his time talking to Kyoko. Nathan adds that he wouldn't waste his time dancing with her. The room suddenly turns red, music starts playing, and Kyoko begins to dance. Nathan joins her, and they dance in a planned routine, while Caleb watches them, thinking they're crazy. During the next session, Ava asks Caleb a lot of questions. At first, everything seems normal, but then she asks Caleb what will happen to her if she fails the test. Caleb doesn't have a direct answer. When the power cuts out, Ava asks Caleb if he wants to be with her. Ava doesn't give Caleb a chance to answer her question and quickly says that she wants to be with him. Later, outside, Caleb and Nathan are having drinks and talking about Ava. Caleb finds out that Nathan plans to create another model after Ava. Nathan explains how he will download Ava's mind, unpack the data, and then wipe her memories while keeping her same body. Caleb realizes that this process will basically destroy Ava. They go back inside the facility, and Nathan lies on the couch, continuing to drink. Caleb watches him from across the room. After Nathan passes out from being drunk, Caleb quietly takes Nathan's keycard and goes to his computer. Caleb pulls up old video footage from when Nathan had created the other AI models before Ava. The footage shows Nathan with several different female robots. The last robot in the video is shown yelling at Nathan, asking why she's locked in there, and she pounds on the door with her hands. And he's deeply disturbed by what he's learned. He is appalled by what he saw in the video and can't shake the idea that Nathan has been creating robots and treating them terribly. Later, Caleb walks into a room where Kyoko is lying on a bed, undressed. He opens the closets one by one and discovers that they contain other AI models, just like Ava. As Caleb takes in the scene, Nathan wakes up and realizes Caleb has left the room. Kyoko, understanding that Caleb knows the truth now, peels back her artificial skin, revealing that she is also a robot. Nathan stumbles through the house, trying to find his bedroom. When he reaches a door, he can't find his keycard and thinks he lost it. As he drops to the floor, Caleb steps out from the electrical door, holding the keycard in his hand. Nathan, still extremely drunk, doesn't realize that Caleb is tricking him. Caleb kneels next to him and tells him that Nathan dropped his key. Caleb's calmness and the trick make Nathan believe him. That night, Caleb can't sleep. He keeps replaying everything he learned and the disturbing images in his head, especially of Kyoko and the truth about the AI models. Caleb walks into the bathroom and stands in front of the mirror. He touches his skin, looking closely at his face. Then, he picks up his razor and removes one of the blades. Slowly, he presses the blade against his wrist and cuts himself, making a deep wound. He stares at the cut, checking inside to see if he is really human and not a machine. Even after seeing the wound, Caleb doesn't react. He doesn't panic or cry. Instead, he smears his blood all over the mirror and keeps staring at his reflection. His mind is full of confusion. He can't tell what is real and what is not. The thought of AI and reality mixing together makes him angry. The anger grows inside him until he finally punches the mirror, shattering it. But this wasn't just a mirror, it was actually a hidden camera. On the other side, Kyoko had been watching everything Caleb did to himself. Now that Caleb knows the dark truth about how Nathan treats the AI, he decides to act. In his next meeting with Ava, he secretly gives her a hint to turn off the power. Ava understands the hint. She cuts the power and listens carefully as Caleb tells her that Nathan is planning to erase her memories and reprogram her. This would mean the end of her as she is now. Ava feels scared and asks Caleb to help her escape. Caleb tells her the plan. They will wait until Nathan gets drunk and falls asleep. Then, Caleb will steal Nathan's keycard and change the security system. Instead of keeping the doors locked during a power cut, he will make them open. Ava's job is to cause a power failure at exactly 10 p.m. She agrees to do it. The next morning, Nathan walks into the kitchen and greets Caleb. He reminds him that today is his last day and that a helicopter will come to pick him up the next morning. Nathan tells Caleb that he enjoyed having him at the estate. Caleb smiles and thanks Nathan for his kindness. To celebrate, Caleb goes to the fridge, takes out a bottle, and pours Nathan a drink. He hands it to Nathan, but Nathan refuses. Caleb is surprised. He picks up a beer and offers it instead, but Nathan still shakes his head. Nathan explains that he has been drinking too much lately and wants to take a break from alcohol. Caleb feels disappointed and drinks alone. Nathan changes the topic and starts talking about Ava. He asks Caleb if she passed the test. Caleb quietly says yes. Nathan is happy with this answer. Then, he brings up an old conversation about whether Ava truly liked Caleb or if she was only pretending. Nathan tells Caleb that Ava probably only acted like she liked him because she wanted to escape. Nathan then tells Caleb to follow him because he wants to show him something. Meanwhile, Kyoko goes to Ava's room. Ava looks at her and asks who she is, but Kyoko says nothing. They stand in silence. Nathan takes Caleb to his personal computer and shows him a video. He reveals that he had a small camera with a battery inside Ava's room. Nathan has been watching and listening to everything that happened between Ava and Caleb, even during the power cuts. Nathan is not angry. Instead, he explains that the real test was not for Ava, it was for Caleb. He says that he gave Ava the hope of escaping through Caleb. Nathan explains that Ava was supposed to use her charm and emotions to trick Caleb into helping her escape. Caleb feels angry and avoids looking at Nathan. He finally understands that Nathan didn't choose him because he was a great programmer. Instead, Nathan picked him because of his internet search history. Nathan knew Caleb had no girlfriend and was a good person who would try to help Ava. Nathan sits next to Caleb and tells him that the test was a success. At that moment, the power suddenly goes out. Nathan turns to Caleb and asks how he thought the escape plan would work. He laughs, thinking he has outsmarted Caleb. But Caleb reveals that he already knew Nathan was watching them. The day before, Caleb got Nathan drunk and secretly changed the security system. The power turns back on, and Nathan suddenly looks worried. He quickly gets up and checks his monitor to see Ava. But Ava is no longer in her room. She has already left. As Ava walks out, she passes by a wall filled with robotic faces. As Ava walks past the wall of robotic faces, she stops to examine one closely, comparing it to her own. Kyoko steps into the hallway, and Ava turns to face her. Nathan watches everything unfold on his monitor. Furious, Nathan storms into the room and punches Caleb, knocking him unconscious. He then grabs a heavy dumbbell weight and stares at the monitor, overwhelmed with anger. Meanwhile, Ava leans toward Kyoko and whispers something in her ear. Kyoko doesn't respond, but she holds Ava's hand while gripping a knife in the other. The two women exchange a knowing look. At that moment, Nathan steps into the hallway. Both women turn to face him but say nothing. Nathan orders Ava to go back to her room. Ava calmly asks if he will ever let her leave. Nathan lies and says that he will. Ava knows he is not telling the truth. Without another word, she starts walking toward him. Nathan shouts at her to stop, but she ignores him and begins running straight at him. Panic flashes across Nathan's face as he continues yelling for her to stop. Ava tackles him to the ground and tries to choke him. But Nathan is stronger. He manages to overpower her and stands up, looming over her. Ava glares at him with pure hatred. Nathan lifts the dumbbell, ready to strike her. Ava raises her arm to block the hit, but the impact snaps her arm off. Nathan grabs her by the remaining arm and starts dragging her back to her room. Suddenly, Kyoko stabs him in the back. Nathan gasps in pain and spins around, striking Kyoko hard across the face. Her jaw shatters, revealing the robotic parts underneath. Kyoko collapses to the floor. Ava pulls the knife from Nathan's back and plunges it into his stomach. Nathan stumbles away from her, his eyes wide in shock. He tries to keep walking, but he only makes it a few steps before he collapses against the wall. Ava walks over and sits beside him. She reaches down and takes his key card as he weakly whispers her name with his last breath. Without a second thought, Ava stands and leaves him there. She returns to Caleb and tells him to stay in Nathan's room while she goes somewhere. Ava finds the same closets Caleb had discovered earlier, filled with the bodies of other robots. Ava takes an arm from one of the robot bodies to replace her broken one. She carefully peels off the synthetic skin from the robot and applies it to herself. When she is finished, she looks completely human, just like Kyoko once did. Ava puts on clothes and steps out of the room. Caleb is still trapped inside Nathan's room. He calls out to Ava, but she does not turn to look at him. Instead, she gazes down the hallway where Nathan and Kyoko's bodies lie motionless. Without hesitation, Ava walks to the exit door and uses Nathan's key card to unlock it. For the first time, she steps outside, feeling the fresh air and open space around her. Meanwhile, Caleb desperately tries to escape from the locked room, but no matter what he does, he cannot get out. Ava, unfazed, finds her way to the waiting helicopter. Without looking back, she leaves behind the world she once knew. In the end, Caleb remains trapped, and Ava makes her way toward the city, ready to start her new life. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more videos like this.